My Life Between Lives Story from Newton Train Institute practitioners.
I see a whole change in the thrust of searching for answers about who we are and why we're here. And I think it's wonderful, and I just hope the movement continues to expand.
Let us expand the universal consciousness together with a My Life Between Lives story presented by the Michael Newton Institute.
Welcome to My LBL Story. My name is Ekomananda. Today we have special guest, Danny Stott. Danny specializes in healing trauma and addiction using the power of transformative hypnosis to empower and awaken his clients. With more than 25 years of experience in the healing profession, Danny's path has evolved from being a paramedic to practicing acupuncture and Reiki, ultimately leading him to his current role as a dedicated clinical and spiritual hypnotherapist. As a Michael Newton Institute certified Life Between Lives therapist, Danny skillfully guides individuals on profound spiritual journeys that transcend the physical realm, helping them uncover their true soul purpose. A big warm welcome to Danny. Thanks for coming to the show.
Delighted to be here.
You started from a paramedic. How did you transit from a paramedic to a spiritual hypnotherapist?
That was 25 years ago. I was working as a paramedic for the London Ambulance. When I decided I wanted to be a paramedic, it was the first time in my life that I'd felt something deep inside of me guided me. Before that, I'd worked in the financial futures market, just trying to make lots of money. And then at some point, something inside of me said, you need to do something different with your life, Danny. You need to do something where you're helping other people. There was just, and I've never had that before in my life. And I was about 24, and it felt like my soul or something was talking to me, and kind of knew deep down, right, yeah, it's nice to have lots of money, and but I realised that the stock market wasn't the place for me. And so I got a job as a paramedic and absolutely loved it. And it really brought me the first time in my life where I was actually really helping other people. And it really taught me a great deal about being in literally life and death situations, and how to be there with people at the most difficult points in their life. So yeah, that was the start of me realizing that I want to be involved with helping people. When you're a paramedic, you're also, I think it's the top 3 jobs that are involved with death. So I was seeing death, and I wouldn't say a daily basis, but a couple of times a week you're encountering dying people, dead people. And you start asking yourself more questions. You know, what's going on? Where are they going to? Seeing people pass away in front of me. A couple of times I saw, they kind of went, and I saw there was something, I sensed something left them. I sensed there was something going on there. But yeah, being a paramedic kind of got me comfortable around being around life and death situations, and really made me want to understand, why are we here? What's going on?
How old were you when you experienced the regular death scene?
28, 20, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. I did it for about 6 years. So yeah, it's a wonderful job. It really is. And being a paramedic, but it got me really kind of searching and trying and wanting to find out more. So it kind of put me on this path where I just wanted to find the answers. And I didn't really care what the answer was. I was hoping it was going to be a good answer. I was hoping there was somewhere wonderful we were going to go to. But I was also going at it very scientifically. And I just wanted to know what happens when we die. So it got me kind of investigating all different religions, spiritualities. I was a Catholic, went to a Catholic school, loved the Bible, loved Jesus, never questioned it, just believed what my mum said, what the priest said, what the school said. But then eventually I started really researching the Bible and studying it and finding out, who actually wrote the Bible, who wrote the Gospels, who was Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. And then reading up other religions as well and just going over many different religions. And it put me at a point where I kind of became an atheist for a while, maybe for about a year or so. And I kind of thought, right, no, this is all made up. This is all a load of nonsense. And we've been lied to. But then I carried on researching. If the evidence showed me that we were just going to be, worm food, that we were here for, 70 and then we died and that was it. If that was the deal, then I was going to just, if that's the truth, that's the truth. But I kept digging, I kept researching. And then eventually, after a couple of years being kind of agnostic, atheist, I read a book on near-death experiences called The Wisdom of Near-Death Experiences by, I think, Dr. Satori. And she was a nurse and she'd worked in hospitals, A&E. She's now qualified and she's now a doctor. She very scientifically wrote this book about near-death experiences. And once I started studying near-death experiences, the evidence is overwhelming from people like Raymond Moody and many others who've studied near-death experiences. So I then researched that subject, and that really opened my mind. So yeah, that then put me on a bit of that opened my mind more spiritually when I discovered near-death experiences, and that led on to kind of where I am now.
How wonderful! That's kind of played a critical or pivotal role, leading you on wanting to find out more. Where do we go after leaving the body?
Yeah.
Is there a true heaven? What does it look like? What do we do in spiritual realm?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I didn't, when I was a paramedic, when I seen people dying, I wasn't sure if they were going somewhere nice or not, and I just really wanted to find out. And I went with an open mind, a scientific mind, and looked at as much evidence as I could. And when you look at all the evidence with an open mind, that's the key thing. We all have our biases. Everyone has their own, unconscious biases. So you have to be aware of your own biases. And then when you go at things with an open mind, you realize the evidence is overwhelming that we are eternal spiritual souls. And there's a couple of good books. There's one called I think it's a lawyer investigates the case for the afterlife, and it's not actually a lawyer, but it's just that it's I think there's a web page, and there's they had about 1 million different people sign up for it, and it was just all evidence showing that there's an afterlife, and that evidence comes in the forms of near-death experiences, of cases of reincarnation that can't be disproved. Like Dr. Ian Stevenson wrote a book called 20 Cases of Reincarnation That Can't Be Disproved. Amazing book, amazing research. And many sort of clairvoyants and mediums who've contacted people. And there's many people, just normal people, and who probably about 1 in 5 people, if you ask them, have they ever had a relative or a loved one contact you, about 1 in 5 will say, yeah. They, after someone passed away, something happened that they know was their loved one, communicating with them. So yeah, when you look at all the evidence with an open mind, it's quite clear that we're eternal souls, which is quite wonderful.
Yes, so much more evidence, stories. Scientists, doctors, lawyers, people who are very evidence driven these days has published so many books, papers, research results,
Mm.
and there are many YouTube projects on Gaia channels. There's so many materials, so many things, so many videos. You can just simply go watch, ask the question, and deep dive in, and find
Mm.
out yourself.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But it's great reading these things, and you can learn so much. But you need to go. I realise you have to go and have the experience. So I can read something in a book, and then read another person in a book, and another person in a book, confirming it. But on some level, I realised I need to experience this rather than just keep reading it.
That's correct. I always say that knowing isn't good enough. You have to live in it, which means you have to live by your own experience, and then you can really truly grasp that wisdom.
Yeah,
And so, speaking of that, did you say you had a coma experience?
yeah, I did. Yeah.
Tell us more about it.
I had some issues with alcohol and sleeping tablets. So I was addicted to something called clonazepam. And the alcohol was never a big problem for me. But once I got a problem with the clonazepam, then sometimes when I would drink, I would black out and I would pass out and not know what I'm doing. So I kind of knew, right, Danny, don't drink with these tablets. But sometimes I couldn't control that urge to go and drink. About 15 years ago, I don't even know exactly what's going on, but I was drinking with some friends. I went home and I woke up in a hospital 2 weeks later. And when I woke up in a hospital, I had my family around me, kind of like over the moon that I was talking to them. And I was like, what are you all doing here? You know? And they were like, you've been in a coma. And I'm like, what? No. And it felt like I just was at home in my flat. And then the next second, I'm waking up in hospital. And they're telling me it's 2 weeks, but it felt like 2 minutes. And I'm like, why am I in hospital? And they said, oh, you've been in a coma because you took an overdose. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I said, I never took an overdose. I said, what are you talking about? And they were like, Danny, you did. You took an overdose. And I was like, no, I must have been in a car crash. And for 3 days, I didn't believe them. For when you come out of a coma, it's called ITU hallucinations, or there's some kind of technical term for it. But when you come out of a coma, your brain is upside down for about 2-3 days. So you hallucinate a lot, and it takes a while to become lucid. But I had no recollection of taking the tablets. And so when I came out of that coma, it was quite amazing, really, because I really felt the love from my family, which was quite amazing, really. I got to find out what it would be like if I wasn't here. And that was so overwhelming to feel that love. Because at that point in my life, it wasn't a great time. Hence, I was drinking too much. But when I came out of the hospital, I was really shocked that I'd taken an overdose, because it wasn't in my conscious mind. I wasn't thinking about doing anything like that. And I was scared that if I didn't mean to do it that time, well, might I do it in the future? So I really started studying, even more so, what happens when you die. It became, right, I need to know now. I need to really find this out. So I studied it, like a degree at university. And it was by studying what happens when you die that I encountered Michael Newton. I discovered near-death experiences, and I also learned from Michael Newton, his books. When people if they do kill themselves, on the other side, there's no judgment, but it's the person themselves that's disappointed. They're the one that kind of is kicking themselves because they know they came here to learn certain lessons. And when life gets a bit choppy, that's when we're really learning. That's when we are growing as a soul, as difficult as it might be as a human. And then we're just going to have to come back again and go through a similar life to learn those lessons. And the Buddhists say, if you kill yourself in anguish, you come back in anguish. And one of the stories from one of the, I think, Michael Newton's books, someone who committed suicide in one of their lives, on the other side, so they wouldn't do it again, they had to do 100 years of schooling on the other side to prepare them for coming back. And I remember thinking, I don't want to do 100 years of school on the other side. You know, this has really helped me as a therapist as well. I get a number of people, I get many, many clients for addictions, traumas. Every now and then they tell me they're thinking about killing themselves. And then, you know, I've learned from some really good therapists that it's good sometimes to share your stuff at certain times, to jump in the hole with your client, take them by the hand and show them how to get out. So I put out to the universe quite often when I'm trying to attract certain clients. I put out to the universe and my guides, send me the people that I can help. And they're going to be the ones with addictions and suicide issues. Or, you know, and I have people for weight loss, smoking, everything. But yeah, there's no one that I turn down.
I'm interested in your working with these suicidal people, addiction people. I mean, people who have a suicidal tendency or heavily addicted to substance. So that's a common sort of insight from the spiritual realm, the 100 years study in the spiritual realm. I'm assuming that 100 years is going to be is different to Earth's time.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah. And that's probably not every soul has to go and do a load of studying. It was just that soul was just asked to do some extra learning to help them. But time's obviously different on the other side, isn't it?
Do we have an idea how, let's say, 1 year on Earth is how long in the spiritual world?
It's a good question, that, isn't it? Yeah. It's like when someone comes and is, say, haunting a house or a place, they will often be there for a couple of 100 years. But for the soul, it feels like they're only there for a few days, a few weeks.
Interesting, isn't it? The time shrinks or expands to the spirit.
Yeah, or doesn't even really exist. So,
Exactly. Yeah, they say the moment when we realize there's a time, the illusion began, the dream began. And some people perhaps, a minute there is a year here, others might be 5 years here. So it might be an individual's thing.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. So, but what I do know is that 80 years on Earth for a soul is like that. So for us coming into a life, a difficult life of 80 difficult years, say, for someone, and it might feel like that life is just a forever of pain. On the other side, when they chose that life, they were like, oh, okay, yeah, that's 80 years, it'd be difficult, but on the other side, it's like a day.
A day trip.
Yeah, like a day trip. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'd much prefer to be on the other side then.
Yeah.
Well, you see, 80 years here is a long time, right? But a day trip it happens quite fast. We don't want to struggle for that long.
There is part of me that kind of, when I do move over to the other side, I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful experience. But I also know it's so important for me to do well in this life. This is where my soul is learning. This is where my soul is growing. And, I heard of someone who had a near-death experience. Afterwards, they were really disappointed that they weren't allowed to stay on the other side. And they were actually quite depressed for about a year afterwards, because they were annoyed that they had to come back to Earth and carry on their life with their family and their kids and their job. I know, Danny, you've got to do the best you can here in this life. You've got to seize every opportunity. be fearless, follow your bliss is my mantra. And so when I get to the other side, I can look back and be pleased with what I've done here.
Well, the body is the instrument, so I guess we do have to treasure the time here when you are breathing, when you have this gift. It's a special gift, if I may say so. Some might agree, but I do think this is what you've got. You're breathing, you've got this consciousness, awareness here, and you got family. You know, you live in a beautiful life, and if you may not experiencing beauty yet, go search for it. If you ask for it, the universe will provide it for you.
Exactly, yeah. I've actually got
Yeah.
on my phone, on my screensaver, it's a quote from the Bible, from Jesus. And Eckhart Tolle was just saying this the other day. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. And it's,
Believe you have perceived it.
yeah, just
It will
believe
be
it's there,
yours.
you know. And so when I made the transition from, I'm also a physiotherapist. When I made the transition to becoming a hypnotherapist, there was part of me that felt it's a bit late to do that, to become a hypnotherapist. I'm, late 40s, but I kind of knew, okay, Danny, what you believe, you make happen. So if you don't believe you can make it, you won't make it happen. So I had to get my thought process right and start seeing that future and believing that future. And then, boom, I'm here now.
So important to have that belief. You just feel it and see it, and then the picture begins to just manifest itself as reality.
Yeah.
I remembered we have one lady who trained to become a Michael Newton facilitator as a life between life therapist. She is 72, and two years ago, when I was in Bali, I did a yoga teacher training course. In a joint course, a new a guy who just started to do yoga. He was there doing yoga teacher training, and he's 67. And I also hear that there's a Japanese lady who does photography. He started to learn photographer at the age of 70, and she's now known worldwide.
Brilliant,
So
yeah.
age is just a number, and
Yeah,
time does not limit us, because time is just a concept.
exactly, yeah. Long as you can keep yourself healthy and fit, then, and the brain is a muscle, and as long as it needs to be given stimulation. And if you keep giving it stimulation, it will keep working.
Absolutely. I wanted to go back to what you were saying, that if we died with anger, we came back with anger. Does that mean that we normally start with where we left?
It was, if you die in anguish, you're reborn in anguish.
That says if I die with other emotions, I would have born with other emotion in
Yeah,
your experience?
yeah. It was kind of what I've learned is that we often come here to, we'll probably have a few lives where we are trying to learn a certain lesson. So that lesson might be compassion, it might be independence, it might be forgiveness, might be dealing with addictions. And you might take 2 lives, 5 lives, 20 lives to really learn that lesson. So if you're working on a lesson and you kind of, haven't learned it yet, then you're going to keep coming back until you learn that lesson. And then once you've learned that lesson, then great, you'll either stop coming here, or you might come here for different lessons.
I see. Something we're always here to learn, and this lesson evolves once we think, or once the spirit world think that you've graduated from that lesson, you've mastered that. Now, next assignment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's, it's interesting knowing what is the ultimate end game. Once you've learned all the lessons, then I guess you then become, a guide. Maybe we rejoin with God. Who knows how far up it goes? And yeah, I was even reading this. I can't remember the guy now, but kind of talking about how that this reality we've got is broke. It's not from the original God, the original creator. It's one kind of God created this universe we got here, and then there's probably another universe and a God or creator running that one. So who's running our one? Yeah, they're close to God, but whether it is the ultimate God, we're never really going to know all these things exactly.
We
You know,
don't know. We don't know a thing.
but when people have like near-death experiences and LBLs, then they can often experience connecting with, well, the universe, oneness with their higher self, with God. Some say, and it's they often say it's the most amazing love they've ever felt, and it's 1,000 times more wonderful than any love they felt in this life. But whether that amazing love they're feeling is because it's the original God or it's just one of God's gods, I don't know.
We don't know a thing. As I continue to learn from my sessions, from my meditation, from my community, I feel like, oh my God, I think I know something, but the more you explore, you expand, the more
Yeah.
humble you become. I truly feel like, well, we don't know if that is absolutely true or not, because it keeps on evolving and each individual brings different insight, a different angle of, the
Mm,
story. It's just getting
yeah.
rosier and rosier.
Yeah. I know Socrates said, the one thing I know is that I don't know. And a friend of mine who was a deacon in the church, really nice guy, he used to say, no matter what the church thinks, he goes, I'm pretty sure when we get to the other side, we're all in for a few surprises. And I always thought, yeah, that's it. When we get to the other side, we're never going to have it exactly. Oh, that's exactly what I thought. Yeah. Well, when we get there, we're all going to be in for a few surprises. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, wouldn't that be, a curious question to many, if you are watching this now? I wonder that too. I mean, we have stories came from the other world. I wonder if you have stories that came from your sessions from the other world, since your curiosity, your investigation about the other side or afterlife, what happens?
But this is why I love Life Between Lives, because they're very similar to near death experiences for many people, except for the nearly dying bit. Many of my clients over the last 6 months, when I think of the ones since Christmas and before, they're often they're connecting with something what they would call oneness. Something that's the name they often give it, whether it's God, the universe. And I remember the session I did just last week where the lady went to this planet where everything was connected, the trees, the river, it was all alive. And she was then kind of merging into this planet, and then she was on a swing chair on a tree, but she was part of the swing chair, and then this place of oneness just started talking to her, just started letting her know that they love her, they're proud of her, and they were then guiding her with some advice. And I was like, where's this coming from? Where is I was thinking maybe there's a guide there, or there's an angel there, or there's her higher self there. And she was like, oh no, it's just the place of oneness is just talking to me. And it really was quite wonderful. And she was so moved by it all. You know, I've had a few kind of psychedelic experiences with like ayahuasca and DMT and psilocybin. And some of my clients were just drinking water and have an LBL are experiencing something similar to what I've had under, you know, magic mushrooms. That feeling of love and oneness, and the journeys they sometimes go on to even now sort of other planets, which is quite fascinating.
It's the experience of oneness and that unconditional love.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think that's what my clients after the sessions are kind of just like, they feel this love, whether it came from meeting their soulmate, whether it came from the place of oneness, whether it came from their spirit guide or just connecting with their soul. They come away from the session just kind of knowing that they got this eternal soul and there's this amazing love that they just forgot about, that's there kind of inside of them. And it does, yeah, it can take a few weeks to process it sometimes, or everyone's a bit different with processing it afterwards.
Oh, sometimes more than that. Sometimes it goes through months, years. I just say it definitely is a transformational experience. It changes your life for good. I mean, you look at individuals, what are they working for? They are working for love. In a way, they are seeking for love, right? And I was there. I was not aware. I was not spiritual. You talk about spirituality. I'm like thinking, that's just nonsense. That's some sort of voodoo stuff that I don't go there. I don't believe in you. I believe in nothing. I believe in what I see, what I experience, my direct experience, if I may say. So I was not into this at all. Nothing happened. I wanted a successful career. It didn't happen. I wanted lots of money. I lost everything. I wanted a family. I never married. I wanted to have a child. It never happened. So I'm like thinking, what's wrong with my life? I need to get to know the bottom of it. And I experienced the fear of death in my 30s. So that sort of that didn't lead to anything, but that's now I look at it as the energy. Is energy already saying hi to me? Hello? Started to question this and follow this thread. It's a thread. It's a thread. And following that, you know, get rid of this fear of death. Fear of death. And then in 2020, so my awakening happened during COVID time. I mean, many people was, you know, waking up during that year. Now life is just perfect as it is. I've never imagined my life could be perfect as this. I could feel this level of peace, this level of love. It's just here, it's constant. You don't need to go anywhere to seek.
Yeah, it's lovely.
So yeah, if people are still out there searching for, you know, physical gratification, searching for that the bodily sensual experience, that money, fame, it's not permanent. It's not permanent. Wouldn't you want something that is more permanent, perpetual, that you can actually directly access, and you've got that?
Yeah, I think that's one of the great things from an LBL is you start losing your fears, your fears of death, your fears of life, because once you go, hang on, I've got an eternal soul here. It's one of the most wonderful gifts I've ever been given myself by having an LBL. Coming away from that session, finally kind of accepting and realizing, yeah, Danny, you've got a soul that's guiding you here. When you die, your soul's going to come out. Just do your best you can here, Danny, but just don't get upset. And it's really helped me kind of accept and understand like my family and my friends. So there's, a few people in my family who are difficult, some people who are really easy. And I don't get upset about people's actions anymore, people's behaviours. I kind of know they've got their own karmas, they've got their own lessons that they're learning. We probably chose these roles together and said, right, you be the good guy, I'll be the bad guy this time. So I don't sweat on someone being not a nice person. I just go, okay, that's the lesson they're learning, and I don't understand it, and I don't have to get involved in it. I don't get upset about things like I used to, which is lovely. But I still enjoy life even more. But yeah, it's like with my football team. My football team, I love watching them win, but when they lose, I don't even get bothered about it at all. But my family, oh my God, they're devastated for a day or two. And yes, but yeah, that's what's great about an LBL is you lose your fears. You really do.
Losing fear, that's such a huge thing to many.
Mm.
Yeah, fear of
Yeah, yeah,
losing something, fear of losing family, losing children, fear of something would happen to their children, fear of my own death. And they think if I'm dying, then my family members will leave behind, no one will look after them, or all number of things, or imagination,
yeah,
imagining fear.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I know all my family are eternal souls. They're, and we're a team. We work together. But I also know that they've got their own thing going on as well. It may mean we're working together for certain things, but other times it might mean they're going off for certain things. I really follow my heart. I read Joseph Campbell about, I don't know, 5 years ago, The Hero's Journey, and he's got a book called The Myths of Mankind or something. And when he's kind of studied mankind and different religions and spiritualities, there was a key or an Indian phrase which helped you to find where you should go in life. And part of that phrase was to follow your bliss. And that if you follow your bliss, it will take you where you're meant to be in life. And so at some point I went, okay, right, what's my bliss? And I just started, and I remember when I first asked myself that, I was like, oh, I'm not sure really. I don't know. What is my bliss? What am I passionate about? What do I love doing? What do I want to get up in the morning and do? And then I kind of realised, because I'd had an LBL session about a year before, I thought that was amazing. That was something I would love to do. But I kind of thought it, because to become an LBL therapist, it's not easy. You have to. So I went on the Michael Newton Institute website, and it said you need to be a hypnotherapist for 2 years. And I was like, God, 2 years, okay. You've got to do over 40 past life regressions. And I thought, blooming, now that's a lot. And then once I've done 2 years as a hypnotist, 40 past life regressions, then I can apply and I might get on the course. And I remember thinking, oh, that's too much. That's too much. Oh, no. But somewhere I was like, Danny, follow your bliss. All right? If money was no object, if time was no object, and you just did what your heart said, what would you do? Oh, okay, I'd do the LBL. Yeah. Okay, well then go and sign up and do a hypnotherapy course. Go and find one. And so I kind of like a bit reluctantly went, oh, because I didn't want to learn hypnotherapy. I wanted to do life between life, and I didn't know I had to learn hypnosis for that. And obviously it's a big part of it. So I kind of reluctantly, about 5 years ago, went and signed up for a hypnotherapy and counselling course. And
so you actually heard life between life therapy first. So you get to know Michael Newton first before you do your hypnosis course.
yes. Yes. It was that was the whole reason why I became a hypnotherapist.
That's
I,
a big
I
commitment.
yeah, exactly. So it was, I'm going to do this course, see what I think of it, and maybe it will take me to be an LBL therapist with the Michael Newton Institute. And then so I did that course, and I just fell in love with hypnotherapy. I was blown away by how powerful and effective it is for resolving people's issues. And all the stuff we're told about it was nonsense. All this, rubbish you hear about it. And you realise the traditional therapies like counselling and psychotherapy are nice, but they don't resolve your issues to the extent that hypnotherapy will. And you will often spend years with a therapist as opposed to weeks with a hypnotherapist. And once I saw all the evidence and I saw how effective it was and the science behind it, and then I started doing it on my family and friends and seeing them start changing, seeing them going deep into hypnosis and I was like, wow, this is quite powerful. And I was lucky, I was quite naturally good at it. It was something that I just took to really well. After 2 years of starting that course, I was able to leave my full-time physiotherapy job and start as a full-time clinical hypnotherapist. And
Amazing achievement.
yeah. And that first year, I was just scraping by, desperately trying to find clients and just getting it. I worked out that I needed £1,500 a month to survive. So I needed three clients a week. If I could get 3 clients a week, I'm going to be able to eat and pay the bills. And it was touch and go for that first year. I remember thinking, oh, flip, no, I'm going to have to go back to physiotherapy. But I truly believe I was following my bliss. I was doing what my heart was saying. And so the doors just opened. The opportunities came. More clients came. And then eventually it got more regular. And the last 2 years, I've earned double as a hypnotherapist than I was as a physiotherapist.
Wow.
And yeah. And the thing is, the thing with hypnotherapy is once you've qualified, it's unlike, say, like my physiotherapy. I did a degree as a physiotherapist, and then I got a full-time physiotherapy job that was 9 till 5, gonna pay me forever. Yeah, simple. But with hypnotherapy, you've got to go and make the business. You've got to be a business person, a marketing person, and a hypnotherapist. You've got to find the clients. And this is why 90% of people who do hypnotherapy never make a full-time living out of it. Like on the courses. They don't. And I actually done a talk the other day to people to try and help people set up their business. Because there's many hypnotherapists out there who they're sold a lie a little bit. Some of them, or like there are lots of courses that talk and say you will have a new career, you'll make millions. But it's not an easy industry to make it in. And I'd love to sort of set up a course one day and really help people to be able to understand that it's a difficult career to get into to actually make regular money. But you can do it if you do the business part, the marketing part, and you're also a really good therapist.
That's the deal maker.
Yeah, but I hear so many marketing courses, they don't talk about becoming a great therapist. All they talk about is you need to be a marketing person and a business person. Get yourself on TikTok, social media. Don't worry about reading books on hypnosis. Just market, YouTube. Shout loudest. Whoever shouts the loudest will get the most clients. And they forget about saying, work on yourself, become a great hypnotherapist, keep, investing in yourself, doing more courses. And that's something I've done constantly. I've learned many other courses over the last 5 years so that I can blend many different things together.
Yes, you've also got skills of Reiki, acupuncture. How did you actually blend this different technique together to help your clients?
Everyone's different, and I treat all my clients different. So some clients I will combine acupuncture and hypnosis, and I call it Zenosis. And there's not many people in the world actually doing acupuncture and hypnosis. Some people really like it, but some people it makes no real difference. So, but I don't do that a great deal. I played around with that. I do a fair bit of EMDR, eye movement desensitive reprocessing. And so when I do that in a hypnosis session, you don't need to do a full EMDR. You can just tell someone to move the eyeballs left and right at certain points during the session. That's how EMDR came about. It came about from NLP, a guy called John Grinder. But one of the things that I do a fair bit at is I've also learned a lot of rapid hypnosis, like street hypnosis. So I've learned everything from the rapid, like sleep, to 4-hour LBL sessions. I've learned, and I love it. I love everything to do with hypnosis. Someone said to me that when a client comes to see you for a hypnosis, not all clients, but some clients, they want to experience a little bit of hypnosis. They want to experience something that's a little bit different. Some don't. Some just want to lie there and close their eyes. But some people want to feel like they're not just sitting there with their eyes closed. And a woman called Melissa Tears, who's a brilliant therapist in New York, she does a lot of kind of hypnotic phenomena in the therapy room. And you've got to, it's not an easy thing to bring into the therapy room, and you've got to, it's got to be done in the right way. But I often will make one of the client's hands stick to the sofa. You know, get them to try and lift their hand, and 90% of them say they can't lift it. And then I will say, I'm going to touch this hand and it's going to float up in the air. It floats up. And then I say, try and put it down. You find it goes even higher. And then afterwards, you know, we do all the clinical work. We might do timeline. We might do parts, negotiation, whatever we do. We might go on a spiritual journey. Afterwards, when I talk to them about the session, what did you find interesting? The bit they remember? My hand wouldn't move. My hand wouldn't move. Or that just floated up. What was going on? And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, but what did you think about the timeline when you travelled back to your childhood? Oh, yeah, that was great. Yeah. What did you think about the parts negotiation when we spoke about the part and yeah, that was amazing. Yeah. But I couldn't move my hand. What? That's the thing they remember. And then they go and tell their friends and their friends and their friends, oh my God, I saw this hypnotist. He's cured my phobia, but my hand couldn't move. So that's the thing people remember. And then once you've got their hand stuck, they feel like, I'm not just sitting here with my eyes closed. There's something going on here. And so I had some of those techniques in, sometimes, like I normally see clients for 4 sessions. So sometimes in the first session, we do a little bit of that. And then the other ones, I don't need to anymore because they now know this is a powerful session we're doing. So yeah, so I play around with that a little bit.
Sounds a lot of fun that you are playing with your clients. I mean, entertained and also get them impressed, and most important, get them healed.
My whole objective is to heal people, is to help others. When you're doing some of these hypnotic phenomena, it's working out how to do it in the right way. Yeah, and I don't know, like with LBLs, you know, whether doing something like this is going to fit in with a session like that. But I know there's the Dave Ellman technique where you get someone into a somnambulistic state or the SDL state within 6 minutes. It's like a rapid technique to get someone very deep. Now, obviously, Michael Newton would spend 45 minutes taking someone into hypnosis. But you can get someone deep there within minutes. So what I'm kind of working on is some techniques where get someone rapidly down and then do what's like these expanded awareness techniques that kind of Pete Smith's teaching on his course, which I'm doing soon. and something called Open Focus Brain by Les Femi. I know Joe Dispenza does a little bit of it as well. But there's a few other therapists doing something called expanded awareness, which is a little bit like LBL as well. But yeah, I'm just working on different techniques to see if we can give someone an LBL in maybe an hour. And I heard you talking.
Possible.
Yeah, I know we were talking about 10-hour sessions the other day, and there's a great a merit for making it a whole day. But we live in the TikTok generation where people are swipe left, swipe right, and it's nice to go for a 3-4 hour session, definitely, and make a day of your.
Absolutely.
But I'm wondering, is there a way of doing like an accelerated version of an LBL?
I am sure that is possible for certain people in my humble experience. But you never know. I mean, historically, the session is much longer than what we are experiencing today. And in 5 years' time, it's going to be quicker because this energy is shifting globally or universally. And we all know that with no doubt, with absolute conviction. And it's all shifting. So the more we're doing this, the more training, more sessions, more meditation, more circles all around the world is happening. And this is helping Earth Gaia to stimulate more awakening energy. So everything's going to become quicker, and quicker. I think it's absolutely possible.
Yeah. I just like playing around with things and just working out different ways of doing things. And but I think it's probably for many people, most people, it's nicer to have the 3-4 hour format. But there may be some clients who struggle to commit to that amount of time. So there might be like a rapid way of giving them an LBL. A bit like some people would do an ayahuasca ceremony, which is 12 hours, and some people would do DMT, which is 15 minutes.
I guess this can all, vary through different ways to bring people to higher consciousness, to the oneness world. My personal experience is really, really, it's individual. We can't pinpoint, is it going to be what we talk about in the group, in the community, in M&I communities, about 3 hours. Some of the sessions that I experience, it's naturally. So I don't do rapid induction. I don't have your way of doing it. My way is very spontaneous. And I use conversation hypnosis, which is a fantastic technique. And so we just chat about things, and then the session goes that way. So I don't do mainstream hypnosis, so to speak. But I guess, we're just different in a way, but it's effective in its own manner.
Yeah, I mean, I've also used sort of hand ten dams techniques. The Dutch hypnotist, and yeah, he's quite like yourself, where you'll just be talking to the person about something that happened a few weeks ago, and then tell them to close their eyes as they're telling you the story, and then before you know it, you've taken them back somewhere. So yeah, there's many different ways. It's about finding the right way for each person. So that's what I always try and do the session, work out what's going to be right for that person.
Definitely. I personally feel that people who are more with a higher suggestibility scale, mainstream hypnosis works really, really well. You do shock induction, they're in trance already. But for people who are very analytical, they wanted to see evidence, we kind of shock them unpreparingly, so with surprise. So this, I feel the natural way works better because we sort of utilize what we've seen, what is here, what is present. So we work with what the clients got. So I don't use any traditional hypnosis with particularly those people.
And yeah, and we attract those that are guided to come to us.
Exactly. That's what this is all about. And often what I see is the clients can be deep in hypnosis. The session is recorded. The insight flows freely from the other side. And when the clients listen back to the recording, they're shocked about what they're telling us.
I know, it's quite precious, the recordings.
Absolutely. I feel like each session is my enlightening experience.
Yeah.
Because it strengthens our connection with the other side, with higher consciousness. It really solidifies the work that we do. It gives us an unwavering trust, and that there is so much more than what the conscious mind actually knows.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And when I do an LBL session, I always ask for their guides and my guides to accompany us. So I often feel there's this energetic swirl of guides and energies mixing, and it's almost like I'm on the journey with them. It's kind of like I'm traveling there off with them, and yeah. And then when I find myself asking questions and stuff, it just flows without me even thinking about what am I going to ask, or it's just, or when I'm quiet, I'm just there with them. It's just yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
How wonderful. And it's such a joy to learn each therapist, each of my peer practitioners from all over the world. How do you think LBL, this life between life therapy, changed or transformed your therapeutic path or journey as the way that you guide your clients to heal?
How has LBL helped me to heal my clients?
Yes, different to your conventional method. And what is the role of this method in your opinion?
I kind of feel LBL trumps every other technique for healing someone. I've clients come for all sorts of issues: bedwetting, alcohol, gambling, everything. And they're often not looking for an LBL. But I kind of know if they have an LBL, it's going to resolve whatever else is going on. The thing is, when people go for an LBL, they can also ask. I normally say bring about 5 questions that you want to be asked. Questions about your life, your relationships, anything you'd like to ask on the other side. And so the advice they get from those questions is life changing. It really is. Also, when we go on past lives, because it's part of an LBL, as you know, often something from a past life has flowed through into a current life. Some negative emotion or some fear or some phobia. So in an LBL, we often give back the negative emotion, we give back the fear, we give back the phobia, we give back the back pain. I had done that last year, gave the back pain back to the previous life, and the back pain from this current life just went. When she messaged me a month later saying, Danny, my back pain is completely gone, I was like, wow. So people get the most amazing healing on LBLs, but they don't often realise that. The majority of people come for an LBL because they have got like a spiritual journey that they're on. They want to understand why they maybe chose this life, and they want to understand from a soul perspective what's going on. But what they don't realise is that they often, most times, get a tremendous amount of healing for addictions, physical pain, fears. Where I've learned these spiritual techniques, probably about 50% of my normal clients, I will add a little bit in. One of the questions I ask on my intake form is, do you have any spiritual beliefs or religious beliefs, or get a feel for that? And so when someone comes to see a hypnotherapist, they're normally more open-minded than the average person, or they're more desperate. People often come to a hypnotherapist after they've tried everything else. Then they go, I've tried everything else, you're my last resort. And I'm like, you should have come here first. So I often try and blend a little bit of some spiritual stuff into the clinical sessions. And so people normally come for, say, 4 sessions. And over those 4 sessions, we may move to spirit at some point. We may connect with, you know, a wise being who's kind of like their guide, and I will phrase it different for different people because you've got to make sure it fits with why they're here as well. And when people come for 4 sessions for weight loss, for anxiety, what I normally say to them is, if you want, one of those 4 sessions we can do as a spiritual session for no extra cost. If you want, you don't have to. If you want to, we can do one of them as a childhood, womb, past life, spirit guide. And they're like, oh, okay, is that going to help? And I'm like, yeah, well, we will do this to find out, you know, to help you with your weight loss. So we will go to the past life that's most related to why you've, you know, had trouble with this issue. And then we'll speak to your spirit guide and we'll get an understanding on this issue from your spirit guide. And so that's been really interesting. So I've got to take people who weren't coming for a spiritual session, but ended up doing one, who weren't spiritual at all, but were kind of open to it. And I had someone who was, you know, overweight and really wanted to lose weight. And we went to a past life, and he was a white man in his 40s, I think. And he was in a past life on a big boat, big galleon, and he was rowing, and he was chained up, and he was a black slave, and they'd been stolen or kidnapped from the island, put in chains and made to force and row, and they were fed virtually no food on the boat. And eventually he managed to escape the boat, and he swam to an island, and he was relieved to be free. But when he got to the island, there was just no food there at all. And then he starved to death on the island. And before he died, he vowed that if he ever saw or found food, he would eat it. So we managed to give that contract back to his past life self. So, and he was quite amazed that was his past life. And hence this contract to, if you ever see food, eat it, is still running in his current life.
Wow, that's just fascinating. These stories, like jaw-dropping. People don't know about why they have certain conditions, and we are unable, and you are unable to uncover that to achieve healing purpose.
Yeah. I think it was Brian Weiss who said he believes from his statistics, and I think he was a professor at Harvard or some top university. He believes 40% of our issues in this life are from our past lives.
40%.
According to Brian Weiss, and he was a professor, and if you read his books, you realise he's very scientific.
Yes, he is the father, we just say father of past life regression, if we may say that.
Maybe, yeah, we could probably say that, yeah.
Yeah, I love his work, absolutely.
40% seems quite high, but it definitely, if you've got 4 sessions, good to go to a past life to help you with what's going on in this current life.
That's a really, I think it's a reasonable and also an effective model. It doesn't take too much time, right? Some people might think in 10-session program, no, it's too long, too much money. If it's 1-2 session, we don't know. Some people may not even have that trust yet. So I think that's a really good model that you have built for your community.
4 sessions just really gives you a great chance to really experience all the benefits you can get from hypnosis and spiritual hypnosis. Many people, it's the first time they've gone into hypnosis. So their conscious mind is a little bit more active. And a big part of going to hypnosis is letting go. It's letting go and just trusting the process. So for some people, it's the second session where they could just really let go. And they go, yeah, I know where I'm going now. I know the chair. I know Danny. I know what we're doing. And they can just let go. sometimes one session can really make profound difference. I've had many people who had one session and they've had amazing breakthroughs. But I've really found you need 3 or 4 sessions to really make it permanent and last forever. And yeah, so, and I always say to my clients, if 4 sessions is going to be too much money, then we can do it one at a time, and we can work out a way of making it affordable if we can. But it was when I started doing, when I was just doing when I was just saying, come one at a time, I was trying to do everything in one session. And I was like, right, I've got to make sure they are completely healed after this one session. So I'm trying to do timeline, parts, metaphors, control room, spiritual stuff. When you've got 4 sessions as a therapist, you can go, right, I've got time now to really understand their problem. I've got time to get them used to going nicely deep into hypnosis. And I can do this technique this week, that technique that week, and then see how they're responding. And then work out how are they now. So when they come back and the problem's changed, I can work out right where we need to go with it now.
I agree. I think a number of a session, this model works really best, and also clinically, as I speak to many therapists around the world, they normally have a program. It could be 3 sessions, could be 5 sessions. 4 is just right there. I think this is a good strategy to help individuals. And if you have concern about how many sessions you need or you wanted to try, no, it's not about trying. Once you're committed, you see the results. It's very simple. Because
Definitely,
once you understand how to work, it's like, okay, I'm going to learn how to drive a car. So on average, some people takes, let's say 6 months. Right? Other people take 12 months. Some are faster, it's 3 months. But if you committed yourself to 6 months, there's a higher chance for you to succeed. But if you say, I'm going to give myself 1 month, then you are not being fair to yourself, nor you are being fair to the therapist, because you have to respect this data, the science behind it, this average data. Then you have chance to succeed both ways.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think the science shows, is it 6 sessions, 93% successful, compared to 5 years of talking therapy, 38% successful.
We don't do talk therapy. I mean, talk is a little bit about, it's just a little bit, just getting to know each other. We don't really do talk therapy.
Yeah, but hypnosis, you need 4 to 6 sessions. But yeah, so yeah, and then once I started doing the blocks of 4, then it made my clients really get amazing breakthroughs constantly.
Wonderful to hear how you run your business, how you made a wonderful life out of this shock transition. And starting a hypnosis career is never easy, and then you've doubled income than what you did as a paramedic. That's something really amazing, and I'm sure that you can share that with future therapists, and you can guide them how to do spiritual hypnotherapy.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm now going to be doing Peter Smith's quantum consciousness course soon. I kind of think, that will flow really well with LBL, obviously. I'm just following my bliss. And I just know it's all going to go well. When I came out of that coma, something inside of me was kind of guiding me afterwards and letting me know that I'm going to be all right. I kind of knew at a deep level that I'm going to live a long life and I'm going to be all right. By following my bliss and being brave as well. It's taking sort of calculated risks. Last year when I done the LBL course, the middle week was in Los Angeles. It's quite a lot of money to do the Life Between Life course. It's an amazing course, but it's quite expensive. And then so the middle week was in Los Angeles, or I could do it online. So I could have saved £3,000 by doing it online. I could have sat at home, done all the sessions online, no problem, got past. But I knew that's not following my bliss. I knew my heart was saying, you need to go to Los Angeles, Danny. You need to be there in person and meet the trainers, meet the other students, have an adventure. And I was like, and I managed to save the money from being a hypnotherapist. You know, I'd never been able to save the money before, but once I became a hypnotherapist, I started making lots of money and being able to save it. So my savings, I realised, were there for me to go to Los Angeles, for me to pay for LBL, and then go to Barcelona for the World Convention as well. If my heart tells me that's what you need to do, I'll go and do it. And by going to Los Angeles, I really connected with the group of people fantastically. Made really lifelong friends. Got to know the trainers, Petra, Rashi, and Ricardo really well, and became close with them. It's those little conversations out of the classroom when you're having a cup of coffee or tea before the session, or when you're all chatting down by dinner later on. That's where I really got to know the other people involved with the Michael Newton Institute. Because I really want to be part of the family. And to be part of that family, I had to go to Los Angeles. Then I had to go to Barcelona for the World Convention. And I'm so delighted I did. Because this year they've changed the training. So the training's all going to be online this year.
Yeah, I did it online.
Yeah, and it's good. Look, great. I've done many trainings online. And week 1 and week 3 were online.
Everybody serves our own beliefs. I love that saying that follow your own beliefs. You know, it's catching, it's relevant, it's inspiration. So yeah, we do things our own way, follow our own beliefs.
I'm so delighted to be part of the M&I family now, and it's some wonderful people. There really are. Michael will be so proud. I was listening to your intro at the beginning, and it says Michael Newton saying how he hopes that this work will be taken on by others, and it certainly has been.
It is. That's the way, the natural way to be. It's such a wonderful conversation to have you come onto My LBL Story. If you'd have a last piece of golden advice to our audience, what would that be?
I had to realise, stop reading about this, Danny, and go and experiencing it. And it wasn't until I went and experienced an LBL that's when I went, wow. And I realised the stuff I'm reading in books is true. So yeah, and follow your bliss. If your heart is telling you to go and have an LBL or get involved with becoming a facilitator, listen to what your intuition is saying, and then make it happen. You know, we all have limiting beliefs to say, I can't do this, I can't do that. I learned a lot of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And then you realise your limiting beliefs, you can just pull them away. And once you pull your limiting beliefs away, you realise you can achieve anything. Everyone can achieve so much more than they really believe. Go and experience it, is what I'd say.
Experience an LBL, follow your beliefs, follow your
beliefs,
heart.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And it took me a while to know what my bliss was. So sometimes you've got to keep looking for it and searching for it and being open to find out, what do I enjoy? Because the world is designed to brainwash you. Smartphones, social media, our brains are just, swamped with rubbish, with not important stuff. So we often get a bit lost. We just drink, smoke, eat, work, and we don't often know what we really enjoy. So sometimes you've got to sit down and just kind of go, what do I love doing that's healthy for me?
It does take some time to finding or settling down into where you truly belong to. Let's start from today and following Danny's wisdom, follow your own beliefs. Go do an LBL.
I had a past life first and then an LBL, and it really did. Well, it was one of those things that really made me realise there's so much more to this life than what I used to believe. And it's partly what made me decide to be here now. Reading, or
That's
even,
it.
once you've read the books, many clients come and see me because they've read the books and they feel moved. The way Michael writes the books, they often say, I know this is real. I just the way he writes and the way he talks. And I think that's what's great about Michael. He's so credible. When you hear him talking, when he writes, there's a genuine, like an authority, as if this is. But it's then having that experience, and for everyone experiences an LBL differently. Some people, it really is like walking into a HD movie, but for others, it's a bit more dreamlike, and it's a bit different for everyone. But I'd say about 90% of people go away with something quite profound.
Absolutely. 90%, that's number you should not ignore if you are listening to this video, wherever that you belong to. Find a therapist. And if you're connecting to Danny specializes in addiction, trauma, bring you to the spiritual world step by step. And he's got this golden formula, 4 sessions in place, and will look after you dearly. Thanks, Danny, for coming to the show. It's such a pleasure to have you here, sharing your wisdom and insight.
No, it's been wonderful to be here, Ekomananda. I really enjoyed it. It's been lovely meeting you and having this discussion.
It's our pleasure and our joy to come together, share with the audience what they needed to hear. So do an LBL. That's the way to go.
Definitely. Follow your bliss.
Follow your bliss.